Still technically on my vacation. People are already asking me, hey, talk about the Doctor Who San Diego Comic-Con panel. There isn't much to talk about. So, unless something goes drastically wrong, this will go up on Monday, day after the thing went live. And honestly, I didn't even watch all of it. There just isn't a lot there. And that's not really a knock on Doctor Who. I honestly feel that about even a normal San Diego Comic-Con panel actually held in Hall H. I don't find these things very interesting. I'm the kind of person who looks at a breakdown of them rather than watch them myself because they're boring. It's really boring. It's part of the marketing cycle. I think it's dull as hell. Again, nothing to do with the specifics that came out in the Doctor Who panel, just in general. I found these things dull. Honestly, what I did was when it first went up, I just skipped to the end to watch the 1-minute trailer. And I don't have a lot of thoughts on that either. It's not a bad trailer. Unfortunately, it is very much a teaser, which means that unless I'm already inherently pumped for what it's trying to sell me on, my reaction is going to be largely, okay. And that's about what I had here. Nothing made me give a harshly negative reaction, but, I'm still, I want Doctor Who to be good. I always want Doctor Who to be good. I will argue that it is not always bad, even in these last 2 series, but it has become inconsistent and frustrating. So, I'm going to be nervous. That's what I'm going to be, and nothing about this trailer made me think I would stop being nervous. I really have nothing to say about the trailer. Oh, I have one thing to say about the trailer. I kind of like doing, when they actually had text up as opposed to clips, that they had the running thing of the rainbow stripe on the Doctor's shirt, cutting across the background. And I liked how the logo looked with that rainbow behind it. I like that. That's seriously the most substantive thing I have to say about the trailer. So why am I even talking? Well, there was one thing that was said that bears some pondering, which is that Chris Chibnall has confirmed that in addition to what we already knew, which is that this series is only 8 episodes as opposed to the already reduced 10 that series 12 and 11 were, that this is being presented as one continuous story, not a bunch of standalone episodes. And that is a big deal. Because that's not something Doctor Who has really done before. Arguably with Trial of the Time Lord, but even that one, it's really the framing device that is the continuous story, but a lot of the individual episodes within that, they're just kind of doing their own thing. They could have been anything. So this is going to be kind of a first, definitely inarguably a first for the modern era. And I was going to say I'm of 2 minds. I'm of a lot of minds on this. So the first thing is, part of me, when I heard that, my gut reaction was, I would have thought if Chibnall was going to pull this particular move that he would have done it when he first came on board. And I actually had wondered that way back when Series 11 was announced to only be 10 episodes. Because Chibnall, what he was kind of best known for, even though he'd worked on Doctor Who previously, what he was kind of best known for was Broadchurch. Which is that. It is a continuous narrative told over however many episodes Broadchurch was. I can't remember now. But that was sort of his big prestige piece prior to becoming showrunner for Doctor Who. So part of me thinks it would have made more sense for them to pull the trigger on this particular aspect earlier. But for whatever reason, they decided not to do it. Or maybe it was just not even in the cards. They didn't even want to do it. So then we get to, this series coming up and the time at which they shot it. And honestly, if you're already dealing with a reduced episode count, which I feel safe in assuming was something that was handed down to him before he made the decision to make it one continuous story, maybe it happened the other way, I don't know. But like logically, that's what makes sense to me. Then it would make sense to want to maximize what you can do with those episodes. And if you're down to only 8 episodes per series, down from 10, from a previous 12, from a high of 13 episodes per series, then it's probably not a bad idea to do something different with it, because otherwise it just feels like you're getting less Doctor Who every time they shorten it down. So doing a restructuring of the way the show kind of even tells its stories is a way to make it feel less like you have been given less of a thing and more like you've been given, here's a new form of the thing, which, if it works, could make the fewer episodes feel kind of less like a loss, feel a little bit more acceptable. Now, that having been said, there's a reason I've always favored Doctor Who having an episodic lean. You know, the way modern Who has worked is individual episodes are episodic. There will be things that will crop up across the series and then ultimately get resolved in the finale. And I've criticized that format before, more about the fact that it's always done as a mystery box, this thing. What is it? What is it? What is it? Finale, here's what it is. I've complained, my complaints about that had more to do with the fact that Doctor Who did the same version of that every time, rather than actually having an issue with the structure in and of itself. But I've always kind of favored this episodic approach. And part of the reason for that is when a show is episodic, an individual bad episode doesn't ruin anything. Or more accurately, an episode with a bad story doesn't ruin the whole thing. However, if you're only telling ultimately one story, that story better be good. It better be worth telling over 8 episodes. And you better tell it well across those 8. So, to make the comparison to something like, say, something like maybe Loki, as much as I ultimately did like that show, I was nervous all the way up till the final episode. Because I knew that since it was one continuous story, if that final episode dropped the ball, I wasn't going to be able to enjoy even the earlier episodes. Because the ending to what all this was building to fell apart. And any show that's going to take that format, I'm going to be nervous about. Because it puts all the more pressure on getting it right. Another example for me would be when Netflix was doing Marvel shows. You know, to me, the best one, unequivocally, was the first season of Jessica Jones. But then the other ones, you know, it was a mix. First season of Daredevil, really good. Second season of Daredevil, no. Iron Fist, holy crap. The Defenders completely fell apart halfway through. And again, I couldn't even go back and watch the first half, which had been better stuff, because I knew it all fell apart in the end. Doing one continuous story really makes it so you either nail the whole thing or you nail none of it. Because even if an individual episode in this thing that ultimately doesn't work is good, people aren't going to go back and watch an episode that doesn't stand on its own. When it's part of a bigger story, if that bigger story doesn't work, who cares? Ultimately. So that added pressure is going to make me nervous. Now, like, trying to be fair, Broadchurch was good. I only saw the first series of that. But Broadchurch was good. It was well-paced and well-executed from the writing standpoint as well as everything else. So, it's possible that Chibnall, as far as formatting goes, may be more in his wheelhouse, and maybe it'll empower him to work better with this material than he has up to this point. I don't want to lean on that too hard, because that's where it borders on to wishful thinking, and I don't want to go there. But the other thing that I can't help but be nervous is, with this Doctor, if you're going to tell one continuous story over the whole series, what's it going to be? Well, it's going to have to be picking up on the events of the Timeless Children. and the revelations of that, which is just what I've been looking forward to the least going into Series 13, because I don't like that concept and that story idea. Now, to be fair, I've said from the time it was implemented, maybe decent stories will come out of this idea that I hate. It's not impossible, but I also can't reasonably expect that. There's this initial seed that everything has to grow out of, and I hate the seed. I guess I was less nervous back when I thought they'll probably deal with the Timeless Child as a plot thing in the opener, probably in the finale. The rest, who knows what it's going to be. Could be a free-for-all. Maybe I'll still get a few gems, like Can You Hear Me? Like Demons of the Punjab? Like It Takes You Away? And I know not everyone liked these episodes, but I did. I liked these episodes a lot. So my hope for getting those gems amongst other ones that I don't like as much goes down a bit when it's all going to be one story. And it gives less opportunity to shine on an individual episode basis. And I also can't help but worry, like, here's the thing where I feel a bit like the unpleasable fan, because if this doesn't work, obviously it's bad for the show. If this does work, it might also be bad, because what if this becomes the new standard format for the show? Long, continuous stories. I don't want that. I'm accepting it here because we live in strange times, and, fewer episodes, shooting must have been a nightmare under COVID restrictions. So, I'm willing to make exceptions now, but don't let it become the new normal. Please. So that's kind of all I've got. They announced a guest star, the guy who played Grey Worm in Game of Thrones. I'm like, fine. Guest star announcements don't thrill me. Half the time the guest stars don't do anything interesting for the one episodes they appear in. So, I don't think at this point that there's any promotional material that Doctor Who can show me that's going to get me any more excited than I already am. And my level of excitement is more nerves. That's where I just think I'm going to be at from now until it airs, whenever that is. So that's just where I'm at. It's not a bad idea to do it as a continuing story, but it is a gamble, and it is a risky idea from a creative standpoint. But we'll see. What are your thoughts on this shift in format for Doctor Who? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Like, share, subscribe. I just hit my glasses with my finger. Ain't that lovely? I have a Patreon, and you can support me there. You get rewards at every tier of support, but no pressure. At the end of the day, we like to think that just take a relaxed attitude around here. So, you can just come on back next time you need a break.